just sliding with a steel nose. It's so hilarious.
This is one of those cases that God is kind of in the details, so to speak. I mean, I know it's Santa, but God is
it's the same thing.
But it's just the script is so tight. I mean, the story is fine. The story is good. They do it. Okay, that's great. They get to where they need to do without a lot of fluff. What's great about it is how good the dialogue is. It's super tight. It's super funny, and it makes you want to go see it again because it's so constant. There's constantly somebody talking, and you feel like there's a lot you missed along the way. I mean, not feel. You're certain there's a lot you missed.
I know there's visual stuff I missed because I'd be looking at something or laughing at something, and out of the corner of my eye, I'd look over to catch something. I'm like, wait, there's a joke, and it's gone. Like, damn it.
There's so much going on that it does. It engenders itself to like wanting to go back and see it again, which is a blessing for a film you have to see with your kids because you'll probably have to see it.
You know what?
I
think you talk about how you have to see it with your kids. Unfortunately, you also got to see it with other people's kids.
Yeah, that's
many of whom will just like when I saw it would just not shut up through the entire movie, or even like their parent who is narrating to them and to turn around and go like, "Hey, they can see the fucking film if you'd be quiet. Shut up."
Wow, this is a very British film, right? I hope it. I mean, the way you guys are talking, I hope it does well. Because I'm looking at the cast. And there's like Robbie Coltrane, Michael Palin, Dominic West, Andy Serkis, Joan Cusack. Wait a minute, Joan Cusack.
The funny thing is, most of those names you're reading off, they're playing elves, and their voice is sped up to a point where you can't tell it's them.
Oh, they do that?
Yeah, so there's no point even having them do those voices.
They're not wildly sped up. They're not like chipmunks sped up.
No, not chipmunks
but
sped up.
just enough to where you have trouble identifying.
Yeah, I couldn't tell any. Other than the Santa related people, I couldn't tell who anybody was.
Well, you get so lost in the characters that you don't even care because you're just so into the characters
and
that,
just
that
the
they have
humor
on
of the
screen.
goddamn
how
much it makes you laugh.
I was amazed about how much I was laughing during this film to where even just that makes me want to go see it again.
There's little things that are so inappropriate if you would translate them into in American verse, but in English, like there was a point where like they're being chased by missiles and Grandpa Santa's like, that one's coming straight up my stink pipe.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, no, your kid's not going to know
he
what
says
that
something
means.
else, but
no, he says stink pipe.
He does.
Yeah.
You know what? It'd be funny, Leon, if one of those parents turned out, look at their kids like, honey, that means asshole. Asshole!
I especially liked Hugh Laurie as Steve. And I just love that Steve character because at that point where he kind of gets snubbed for something that everybody knew he should have got, he doesn't turn really into an asshole about it. He's just more like he's like a subtle hurt and disappointed, but he's still trying to do his job and keep things going.
Yeah, he's not a villain.
Yeah, I mean, that was the perfect point where they could have turned him into a villain. Where a lesser movie would have made him a villain.
Yeah,
and they didn't. It's just like, wow, that actually keeps this more interesting.
But he's interesting enough that it's not like one of those films that it's hurt because it doesn't have a strong villain. It's not that kind of film. I mean, ultimately, the message of this movie is about the family dynamic. We may not all get along or see eye to eye, but we're still family, and ultimately, we need to get each other's backs.
And most importantly, which is the whole premise of the movie, what Christmas really honestly means to all of them. They're trying to deal with their family drama.
Yeah.
It's like you're like, okay, we all used to be Santa Claus, but does anybody remember the kids?
Yeah. You make it sound like that one kid didn't get a gift from Santa Claus. Like, fuck them. I just wanted one last thing I want to ask you is Aardman not being considered like a major player in at least the CG category of animation. How's the animation in this film?
I thought it was pretty goddamn amazing. Yeah. I mean, pretty much right up there with Pixar. I have to admit, even the humor, even though it's a bit different, it's one of those things where I was like, wow, this studio would be a great rival for Pixar. You're just dealing with the humor and the animation.
Man, Pixar's had a few missteps, and now everybody's waiting to just pick those bones. You're like that lion that ruled the Serengeti for so long now.
When it comes to like animation companies that have consistently put out high quality content, Aardman's the only other one I can think of that even would be competing with Pixar.
I guess if you did a percentage, or a success rate percentage.
I mean, shit, even that movie Flushed Away was pretty good, even though nobody saw it.
I know.
Not that you can blame them.
They make fantastic movies that nobody see. Nobody watches.
Yeah, which I'm really hoping that this movie does well, because I tell you what, looking at that trailer, it made this movie look like a generic like Christmas movie.
See, often that can really affect an animated movie. Like with Iron Giant, took so long to convince people to watch it because all they said was like, And I saw that trailer. It just looked like a Saturday morning cartoon. I don't want to see that. Mm-hmm. And just the way, even though we know better, we still reacted to the trailer going like, not this again.
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. And there's already 8,000 Christmas movies, 2,000 of them which are CG. So it's got its work cut out for it. It's trying to establish itself out there.
So what'd you guys give it?
Well,
go ahead.
Okay.
You're still talking.
Well, you know what? I mean, like we say, we've been saying all the great things about the movie. There is one thing that I don't praise it for, and it's why I, instead of giving it a full price, I'm giving it a high matinee. And it's that, for me, a lot and too much of the humor was dependent on pratfalls crashing into stuff and Arthur Christmas being so clumsy and slipping around and falling. And for a lot of people, it doesn't bother them, and that's fine. And just like, even me, I didn't realize how much it bothered me until I was watching this movie, because it was just a little too much of that in places where I was like, I'd rather have some jokes here. The being clumsy and knocking into stuff, I don't know, it just wears on me after a while. But it's a very high matinee for me.
Yeah, do you have any complaints, Cyrus, before you actually give a review?
Well, I agree with everything that Leon just said, except that it didn't really bother me as much, if anything, because you're just so overwhelmed with stuff that's constantly hitting with different types of jokes. Yeah, when they're doing that, it seems almost more noticeable with that slapstick, because everything else is so funny.
Exactly.
And then that's such base level humor. But at the same time, like I said, they're trying to appeal to little kids as well as, like, us.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, that was there for the youngest kids to laugh at. And fair enough, it is a Christmas animated film. I really think that this is one of the best Christmas films I've seen, in as long as I can remember. This is one of the ones that I'm going to own and rewatch every Christmas. I liked it that much. I hope that people can get past that mediocre trailer and the fact that they've just never heard of this and go see it, because it's a full price movie. A really, really solid effort.
I'm right there with you, Cyrus. This is definitely a full price for me. I completely understand what you're saying, Leon, with the pratfalls and stuff. But I look at it in the same way as like when I watch the Wallace and Gromits. Wallace is pretty much playing the straight guy, and he's always playing the dummy, almost like the Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
And when he does those ridiculous pratfalls, I still find it funny because it's just the expression that they have on their faces, to where they're so clever. It's like the subtlety of it. I still find kind of humorous, which I get what you're talking about.
Because I suppose for me, there was no subtlety in it, because you start with Arthur Christmas, who's a klutz and falling over everything to a point where it's like, dude, settle down. And then there's the sleigh, or when it's him and Grandpa, and they're wrecking into stuff, and it's funny at first, but they just keep doing it. And there's so many things going on. It's just kind of manic. I was like, I need for this to calm down.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, I did not have an issue with it at all. But you're right. I mean, this is going to be one of those Christmas movies I'm going to own. I'm going to watch it along with the stop motion, like the old school stop motion Christmas specials.
Right.
Rudolph the Red. Yeah, I think it's right up there, but it's like, it's a modern version of that for me.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing this again,
I'm embarrassed how much I got weepy towards the end because of how it really connected with me about that whole, like, okay, this is the one time a year that even though you may not get along with your family a lot of the time, that you come together, and that there are moments where they're showing just the wonder of a kid coming to the Christmas tree and seeing those presents under there.
No, they captured that all great.
That, like, Arthur react to that, and you're like, oh man, this is the first time as long as I can remember that I really feel like what it was like to be that kid going downstairs. And believe me, that was a long time.
And it's always amazing to me how Christmas movies never capture that usually, and so it's like they're concentrated too much on the fart jokes or just the villain or whatever. With a movie like this, it didn't need it. But in case I didn't, I don't think I gave I gave it a full price.
Yeah. So, I'm surprised that you don't like the pratfalls and all the physical humor in this, because for you and I, the wonder of Christmas was wondering every year where our father was going to be lying drunk under the tree and all the presents.
I was about dad stumbling home drunk. By the time I remember hearing that music.
Don't
playing.
you mouth off to me, boy!
when he stumbled around and that music was playing and it was all funny until he fell into bed, it collapsed and crushed all our Christmas toys.
So Arthur Christmas on the Rocks, that's something you want to be looking forward to. Remind too much of your dad.